We are here today as Hillary Clinton embarks on a nationwide book tour of her book. Her book, Something Lost, Something Gained, Reflections on Life, Love, and Liberty. Yuck. She's here selling her thoughts on democracy, women's rights, and climate change. But she has no right to speak about any of these things. She's made a career defending, instead of defending the rights of women, she's made a career of promoting war and U.S. aggression around the world, fighting against people's rights to sovereignty and livelihood. How are we feeling about Portland hosting a war criminal in our city?
We're going to try one more chant to get us warmed up. Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies.
She doesn't care about people's lives.
Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies.
She doesn't care about people's lives.
Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies.
She doesn't care about people's lives.
One thing that we do know about Hillary is that she's an expert on militarization and war. She's an expert on U.S. intervention everywhere and encroaching on other countries' sovereignty to serve U.S. interests. In her tenure as U.S. Senator and Secretary of State under Obama, she had a hand in the bombings and militarization of the Philippines, Okinawa, Palestine, Syria, Somalia, Libya, Yemen, Afghanistan, and the U.S.-Mexico border. So today, we are going to hear from various organizations about the impacts Hillary has had on their homelands, their working conditions, their livelihoods, and about how they're also resisting militarization, occupation, and genocide by building people's mass movements. Before we get into our program, though, I'm going to invite Adriana up from our security team to share some announcements with us.
Okay, hi everybody. So we're going to be holding this rally here, and then we will be marching over to in front of the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall to let Hillary really know what we think. One change of plans is that the cops are threatening arrest for actually blocking the streets. What do we think about that? Yeah, so no fun. Change of plans, though, is that we will stay on the sidewalks because we're not trying to risk arrest for this event. We're trying to stay safe. We're here to confront Hillary Clinton. We are not here to confront the people that are just here to listen to her and her book tour. If anything, those are people that we want to listen to us and that we can unite with, right? So let's not get angry. Let's stay nice to all of her attendees and stay safe on the sidewalks as we walk up Salmon and turn the corner onto Broadway. Yeah, a few things. We have a marshal over here who can raise his hand. He will be helping us with hand signals, which are speed up, slow down, and stop. Okay? So that'll be helpful as we're walking over. A couple other things. We have a command team today who will let us know when to disperse if we need to. The dispersal plan is just go back to your cars, get home safe. We won't be meeting back here. We also have a police liaison way in the back, raising her hand back there. If any police approach you, please get anybody in a yellow vest. You can say, "We have a police liaison, let me go get them for you." Okay, say it with me. "We have a police liaison, let me go get them for you." Okay, thank you. We also have a media liaison today. I'm not sure where Juliet is at, raising her hand. Same thing, so if media approach, Juliet will be our spokesperson. We have a couple wagons with water, fruit, granola bars, that sort of thing. Yeah, and if you need anything, please reach out to somebody in a vest. So yeah, please stay safe. Green action again. Try, there's kids here, family friendly, not risking arrest. And yeah, let's let Hillary know what we think. Thank you.
Thank you, Adriana. Let's practice our chant one more time. U.S. out of the Philippines!
U.S. out of the Philippines!
U.S. out of Africa!
U.S. out of everywhere!
U.S. out of Palestine!
U.S. out of everywhere!
That's right. Let's keep the energy going strong tonight. We have a very exciting list of speakers that we're here. We'll be speaking on all of the ways that Hillary has impacted people's lives around the world. And we really want to make sure that Hillary hears us. We don't know when she's coming. We don't know if she's already here. But we need the energy and the noise loud so that she knows we're here and that she knows we will not tolerate her being in our city and peddling her lies. So first up, I have the honor to introduce Isabella, who's an organizer with the American Party of Labor, which is an anti-imperialist communist party. The APL is a member organization of the Resist US-led War Movement, a global network of anti-war organizations fighting for a just and lasting peace. So welcome, Isabel.
Look how many people are out here right now to oppose Hillary Clinton. This is a good people's movement we have started here. So, there are people responsible for every woman killed in Gaza. There are people responsible for every woman killed in Afghanistan. There are people responsible for every woman killed in Iraq. And there are people responsible for every woman being killed right now in Lebanon. There's people responsible for the targeting of journalists and healthcare workers and activists across the world. There are people responsible for warships polluting our oceans, creating the climate crisis, which is killing even more women. There are people responsible for resource extraction and labor exploitation of entire oppressed nations. These people use the US military for bombing campaigns and to increase profit for arms manufacturers. And these people have names, they have addresses, and they have book tours that stop in Portland, Oregon. Hillary Clinton is a figurehead of the imperialist system, a war machine made up of every branch of the US government and monopoly corporations. It is designed in the interest of the capitalist class to further the exploitation and genocide of people around the world. Imperialism has its boot on the necks of women of Cuba, the women of Kashmir, the women of the Philippines, the women of Palestine, and many more. Our task is the destruction of the war machine. Not to just lift the boot of imperialism, but to kill its wearer. Weapons manufacturers are some of the most vicious aspects of the US war machine, and they have been consistent cheerleaders of Hillary Clinton. But us, the APL, Resist US-led War Movement, and many of the other organizations here tonight have been consistent protesters of weapons manufacturers like Raytheon, for the perpetuation of genocide, mass destruction, and climate change. In 2016, Raytheon gave the Clinton campaign over $130,000 because they knew that having her in the White House would be a guarantee of more war, of more aerial bombings, and more defense contracts with the US military, increasing the profits of Raytheon execs. Shame. The war industry and the US state are a single combined genocidal apparatus that is primed for people like Hillary Clinton to spearhead the further expansion of US imperialism in the nations of the Pacific, using projects like the Pivot to Asia, which Hillary Clinton started, and economic institutions such as APEC. Clinton has a long track record of working with these weapons companies
to target the nations that imperialists keep poor and underdeveloped intentionally, keeping them open for exploitation and plunder. That's why the ruling class loves her. That's why they wanted her to be the Democratic nominee, why they wanted her to be president, and why the Democrats are currently using her as a campaigning tool for the Democratic run for president right now. She is just like all of the other genocidal liberal figureheads who promote the states with the worst violations like Israel and like the armed forces of the Philippines. We don't have to wonder what it would be like if Hillary won in 2016. We can just look around.
Yep.
On the Raytheon example, while they gave Clinton $130K for her campaign in 2016, they gave Biden in 2020 $568,000. And they've already, before the election, given the Harris campaign $450,000. Portland is a Democrat-run city, and yet we see increasing militarization everywhere. We have the glorification of war with events like Fleet Week and the Oregon Air Show. We have a militarized police force which is used to violently displace our unhoused neighbors. We have a liberal school board which is pushing military recruitment on our students. But the only thing stronger than all of this money and the neoliberal institutions is the power of working class movements. With the Reject Militarization Coalition, Portland has seen mass protests this year against war, against genocide, and against military exercises. We're growing with the student movement to kick military recruiters out of Portland public schools with the JROTC out of PPS campaign. Resist US-led war works around the globe to stop weapons manufacturers and to end warfare. Our anti-militarism agenda, which is continually being sharpened by the people's resistance to war, specifically calls out the Obama and Clinton policy of increased drone strikes. We analyze the moves of the enemies to peace, and our work is tireless in order to stop our enemies. And in the APL, we're revolutionaries. We're fighting to demolish the entire capitalist system, shutting down the weapons manufacturers and making imperialists like Clinton feel the fire of a revolutionary people. She will feel the fire of a revolutionary people who have paid for and are continuing to pay for her warmongering and the warmongering of all the Democrats in power.
That's right.
If the people of the world had justice for the suffering that they've experienced at her hands, Hillary Clinton would be tried for war crimes and face the will of the people she has bombed as they see fit. We're building that future to see through that justice. Thank you.
Not another nickel, not another dime!
No more money for U.S. war crimes!
Not another nickel, not another dime!
No more money for U.S. war crimes!
Thank you, Isabel. Our next speaker is Marco, an organizer with Migrant Collective and the International Migrants Alliance, a grassroots anti-imperialist alliance that defends and promotes the rights and well-being of all migrants.
Thank you very much. I am with the International Migrants Alliance at Portland, Oregon, and we are a grassroots alliance of anti-imperialist migrant refugees and displaced people's organizations. We fight to end the root cause of forced migration and support migrants self-organizing for our rights and justice. Thank you. So, as it already was mentioned, Hillary is a representation of the status quo. Her foreign policy worsened stabilization in our home countries, which drives forced migration and displacement. Just examples of that. In 2012, U.S. sanctioned military coup and counterinsurgency plans in Honduras. Millions of dollars of aid to the country's security forces that led to the crackdown on social liberation movements, including death to indigenous environmental activists like Berta Cáceres, that you all remember. So violent state sponsored crimes led to mass exodus and migrant caravans from Central America, as you all could see it, but they never said that that was the cause. She has consistently endorsed starting new wars and expanding others. As it was mentioned, remember all the countries that somehow Hillary Clinton has been responsible to support and endorse, and expanding others. She favors sending more troops as seen in Iraq, Afghanistan, and staunch support through military and financial aid packages to the Zionist state of Israel. She gets money from them, right? You know that too. Yep. Also, Operation Gatekeeper, that many of you probably know about, developed under the Clinton administration, created the border wall and border militarization we see today. Some may say this was under her husband's administration, but she is complicit in this deadly legacy, as she later took on leadership in the State Department and as an influential pinnacle in the Democratic Party. Through her term and in her run for president, she made promises to the migrant community on immigration reform, protecting DACA, pathways for citizenship, and closing of detention centers. And yet, do we see any progress on that? No, it's worsened. And that's her party and the other party and the system that we have oppressing us. It was under Obama we saw the largest number of mass deportations in the United States. Yes. Migrants as workers are only viewed in their relationship to stimulate the economy, to make America great. Yes. Yet our communities are made a mockery of a national TV, scapegoated and criminalized. These women empowered, so-called progressive, pro-women democratic figures failed to address the root causes of forced migration. Rather, they have a direct role in the investments, deployment of troops, and policies that created in the first place. The Democratic Party pretends to be pro-migrant while simultaneously, sorry. Well, English is my third language, just to let you know. Thank you. The administration, after admiration, erodes migrants, asylee, and refugee rights. So I'm here also for a call to action. First, we must pay attention to what happens the day after the election. We need our movement to be ready, prepared, ready to organize. Rather, organized already, right? That's why we're here. Whether it is a Trump or Harris administration, we know it's the system that is maintaining it. So whoever is there, we just have a rude or a gentle, I was going to say, that's the way that they fuck us, right? Gently and rudely. So we need to be ready and prepared. And we have the alternative, and that is organizing us as a community, as a people. Yes. Second, this election, we have 4 demands reflected in our grassroots migrants agenda for EMA. One is end forced migration. That's very simple, but it's a giant little 3 words, because it has to do with economy, it has to do the industry of weaponry, colonization, etc., etc., etc. Livelihood, health, and housing. And the repression of migrants. And legalization for all. The third call to action is join our organizing in the Deportation Defense Coalition. So EMA, it's been part of the creation of this coalition that is not only to defend migrants to be deported, It's really a proposal of organizing to fight that and to fight the system that is creating it. We will send, we've been in contact with your organization, so we will keep you informed about that. And fourth, also, I want to make an invitation to all of you. Join our Borderlands film screening on November 1st at PCC. It's going to be at 4:30, so we're going to be doing an altar making to honor the Palestinian martyrs and the migrant deaths at the border. And we will have the film at 5:30 p.m. It's a film about migration and crossing the border. So, thank you very much. Are we still in the fight?
Yeah!
There we go. Are we ready to continue?
Yeah!
There we go. Thank you.
El pueblo unido.
Jamás será vencido.
El pueblo unido.
Jamás será vencido.
Thank you, Marco. Just a quick reminder for speakers, Kiara here is helping us time keep, so we're trying to keep things within 3 minutes so we can get through all our speakers tonight, so just keep an eye out for timekeeping. Our next speaker is Dan Shea from Veterans for Peace. Veterans for Peace is a global organization of military veterans and allies whose collective efforts are to build a culture of peace and inform the public of the true causes and costs of war. Thank you, Dan.
I also like to say I'm also a member of Jewish Voice for Peace. And I am a Vietnam veteran, so I've seen what war does. I'm getting tired of coming out to these rallies to say stop war. It makes me so angry because every time I think about we're coming out here, we're trying to stop them from killing women and children and people in general, working class. We're sending working class folks from here to kill other people, other working class people, and we need to stop it. I want to, I've been on a number of delegations. Some of them I was a delegation with Veterans for Peace to go to Jeju Island, an island of South Korea, and to Okinawa Prefecture of Japan. In those two places I went, it was in December 15th, 2015. In both those countries, the people were trying to protest against the building of a military base. One in Jeju Island was actually a deep seawater base that was being built by the South Koreans at the behest of the U.S. because the U.S. wanted to to park their nuclear submarines there. People had been protesting for 8 years when I stopped there. And we would stop in front of the construction site and sit down in front of it to try and stop the trucks from going in. They would come out, sometimes people would get arrested, they would pick us up and move us over to the side, and then we'd come back in and stop those trucks again. But we've cost them years of putting them behind and creating that. It was finally built, but the thing is that people didn't stop protesting. They continue to protest and they say close it down and we want to turn it into a museum for biological, marine biology. Hell yeah. They also told me about a massacre that happened during the Korean War, after the Korean War actually, when the U.S. was still really in charge of the South Korean military, who went into Jeju Island on April 3rd and massacred some 10,000 people because they were calling for their own self-determination. Under a democratic, they wanted a democratic, independent government. So where is this idea that they're protecting democracy? They're destroying democracy. Then we went to Okinawa. In Okinawa, I met people who had survived World War II, who had been in, I met a woman who had been in the caves when she was just a young child, and the Japanese were forcing them to stay in the caves. The Americans were bombing, and what they called the rain of steel would come in and was telling them to come out. And she said they were too frightened to come out because they had heard all the propaganda about the military was going to rape them and all these kinds of things. And so they shot into the cave and told them to come out, and they would not come out. So what happened then is he did a flamethrower, and she came running out on fire, and the military actually put the fire out. They took care of her. She said she wondered how could this country do. She said she was appreciative of that they saved her life, but she could not understand why they were continuing to build bases. There were 30 bases on Okinawa. I also went to the Philippines, and in the Philippines, they built 4 new bases in the Philippines. And when you talk about people there, they do not want the U.S. military there because it's supporting a dictatorship, a government who is being oppressive to its people. They use the military and their training with the Philippine military to suppress any revolutionary actions. In Mindanao, there have been a number of massacres of villages and people, and we need to stop that. Hillary has been one of the major people that supported the pivot to Asia. And the whole idea of the pivot to Asia is to make a circle, a chain around China, is to contain China, and they want to use these islands as an excuse to provoke China into some kind of act that the U.S. can come in and say, we're the saviors. But those islands are going to be the first targets, not U.S. citizens. So we need to stand up against that. From Palestine to the Philippines.
Stop the U.S. war machine!
From Palestine to the Philippines.
Stop the U.S. war machine!
From Palestine to the Philippines.
Stop the U.S. war machine!
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Our next speaker is Chelsea. Chelsea's a member of SEIU 503 and serves as a director of the Human Services Coalition on the 503 Board of Directors.
Thank you. Good evening, friends, union brothers and sisters. As a proud leader of SEIU 503 OPEU, I stand here today knowing that unions must be part of the fight for justice. Not just for workers here at home, but for people across the globe who are struggling under the weight of oppression. We stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine, Libya, Afghanistan, Haiti, and the Philippines, and all communities facing exploitation, war, and injustice. We believe in the power of collective action, and just as we fight for fair wages, worker rights, and equality in our own workplaces, we extend that fight to those who are oppressed abroad. We understand that justice cannot be confined by borders. Secretary Clinton's support for the militarization of Philippines under U.S. influence is a glaring example of how her policies have furthered imperialism and exploitation, driving violence in marginalized communities. Her pivot to Asia has led to massive military buildup in the Philippines while allowing U.S. corporations to exploit the land and labor of the Filipino people. 503 has taken a strong position against the continued attacks on activists and labor organizers in the Philippines. Through our support of the Philippine Human Rights Act, we would further end U.S. military aid to the corrupt and fascist Marcos regime. When we talk about Secretary Clinton's stance on Palestine, it's clear that her record has been one-sided and dismissive of the Palestinian struggle for justice, self-determination, and freedom. Throughout her political career, Secretary Clinton has consistently supported Israel. Even in the face of severe human rights violations against Palestinians, she has defended Israel's military actions during operations that resulted in the deaths of innocent civilians, including women and children in Gaza. Her position has often ignored or minimized the suffering of Palestinians under occupation, and she has repeatedly failed to acknowledge the systemic oppression, displacement, and violence that they endure. Our international union has listened to its members and called on the Biden administration to enforce an immediate arms embargo on Israel. However, our union continues to support the Democratic Party, donating millions of dollars, which only goes to the hypocrisy and lack of courage. We as workers must unite and take action to ensure our unions reflect the democratic will of our members. This protest is about the the larger system Secretary Clinton represents, a system that values profit over peace, power over justice, and war over peace. We cannot stay silent in the face of policies that harm the most vulnerable among us. We demand accountability for the harm done to the people of Palestine, Libya, Afghanistan, Haiti, and the Philippines. We demand justice for the women who have been silenced and marginalized. We demand that our hard-earned tax dollars are spent on services that we need here at home, not on genocide and occupation, to further enrich the ruling class. These are some of the reasons we continue to raise our voices, to protest, and to demand change. Because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Thank you, Chelsea. We're going to do a chant. Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies. She doesn't care about workers' lives. Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies.
She don't care about workers' lives.
Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies.
She don't care about workers' lives.
We're going to continue to hear about the ways that Hillary is agent of U.S. imperialism around the globe. And so we're going to hear next from Nzinga, who's an organizer with the All African People's Revolutionary Party, or AAPRP. AAPRP is working toward Pan-Africanism, the unification and liberation of Africa under one socialist government. Nzinga, thank you.
Thank you. So yesterday was the anniversary of the assassination of our comrade Muammar Gaddafi, and tonight one of those people responsible for his death is on a book tour celebrating her life of crimes against the people of the world. Gaddafi turned Libya from a gas station for the West into the most prosperous African country on earth, and he had aspirations to unite Africa under one socialist government, strong enough to defend itself against the forces of imperialism like Hillary Clinton. Gaddafi's vision of Pan-Africanism was inspired by Kwame Nkrumah, the founder of our party, the All African People's Revolutionary Party. Pan-Africanism is not just a political ideology, it is a strategy for the ultimate defeat of imperialism. You see, a united socialist Africa cannot be exploited by imperialists seeking to plunder African labor or natural resources, because a united socialist Africa will have the use of our own labor and our own natural resources to protect the people and the land against whatever the fuck Hillary Clinton thinks up. Our comrade Gaddafi was killed by a NATO attack. A united socialist Africa has the material force to stop everything NATO could throw at it. A united socialist Africa even means the very death of imperialism. So of course, the wicked witch of the West, Hillary Clinton, just wouldn't allow it. Tonight, she's peddling a new book, Something Gained, Something Lost, or Something Lost, Something Gained. A united socialist Africa was lost for a time. The return to open-air slavery in Libya was gained. Under Gaddafi, Libya enjoyed actual democracy. You don't know what that means if you're in the West. Like, people even got to decide, like, how much of the oil percentage would go to what causes, what the communities, people got to decide that and meet. Lost. Under Hillary Clinton, Libya's colonizers are once again exploiting her people and her natural resources, her oil revenue. In May of 2011, months before the brutal assassination, Hillary Clinton was in Italy urging the former colonizer to set up funds against its former colony. And in 5 months, Gaddafi was gone. And the oil companies were making profit, something gained. Under Gaddafi, free education was the norm. Over 50% of the college population were women, higher, in fact, than the United States at the time. Libya even had an equal pay for equal work law that ensured the rights of women in the workplace. Something lost. After Hillary, the self-proclaimed feminist, the self-proclaimed champion of women's rights, right-wing militia using U.S. weapons now see women's equality as a threat, and the U.S. uses that as a further justification for their presence. They're using the same strategy against our comrades in Hamas in Palestine, and we're not going to fall for it again, are we? No! No! Hillary Clinton is on a long list of imperialists who will one day have to face a court of the people consisting of Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Instead, a book peddling lies, spreading propaganda for war with Russia and China and the ongoing war against Africa. You see, the dream of a united socialist Africa was not lost with Gaddafi. Our comrades in Mali, in Niger, and Burkina Faso are working together in a new confederation of Sahelian states. There's already a long list of imperialists working to sabotage this. There's already been assassinations on our comrades there, and they've throttled every one of them. There's even been U.S. military presence who've been exposed. No. Hillary Clinton's book is a weapon of class war that wants to justify and exceptionalize U.S. intervention. What will the Hillary Clintons of the world say about our comrades in the Alliance of Sahelian States? Maybe they're not democratic. Anthony Blinken, one of the butchers of Gaza, condemned a news site, Africa Stream, saying it's spreading Kremlin propaganda because we called out coup attempts. The African Socialist People's Party is facing repression on the grounds of interfering with bourgeois elections simply for spreading the truth that the U.S. is an imperialist state that must be overthrown, and that voting for KK, Clanada Harris, Holocaust Harris isn't going to do anything but damn African people and damn everyone else on the planet.
That's right. That's right.
We're not going to believe their lies because we learned from Gaddafi. Frantz Fanon tells us that colonialism is just naked force and that it can only be stopped by greater force. We need to build that force. We need to build permanent revolutionary organizations. If you're not in one, join one. If you don't like them, create one. Yeah. History has shown us that we have one choice, Pan-Africanism or slow death. Hillary Clinton has worked her whole life delivering slow death to the people of the world. When she found out about Gaddafi's disgusting, brutal assassination, she laughed. When our turn comes, we're going to laugh at you, Secretary Clinton.
U.S. out of Libya!
U.S. out of everywhere!
U.S. out of Africa!
U.S. out of everywhere!
Thank you, Nzinga. Our next speaker is Misha from AFSCME. Misha is the Vice President of AFSCME Local 1790, proudly representing the workers of Portland's behavioral health and housing programs.
Good evening. I'd like to take a moment to remember a sister and a comrade of mine who did a lot of work for our movement. Eliana Letzter passed away on the 13th of October. We remember her as a revolutionary communist and a militant in the struggle against imperialism. Comrades, union siblings, sisters and brothers, my name is Misha Litvak. I am the Vice President of AFSCME Local 1790, as well as a member and a steward. The workers of 1790 proudly serve our community's most vulnerable by staffing the behavioral health and shelter programs in the city. I personally work at a culturally specific LGBTQ shelter as a case manager. I help people access resources like legal aid and job training. We are the last stop before the streets, and for many, the first step back inside from them. Democrat politicians use programs like mine, the labor done by the workers at these programs, and the living conditions of the people we serve as political props. Neither the Democrats nor the Republicans have any vested interest in solving the housing crisis. Their whole political structure relies on being able to levy the threat of homelessness against all workers. This means you. That is how little we matter to them. They would rather workers starve and freeze than be in the position to make serious demands. Democrat politicians are as bloodthirsty and hawkish as they paint their opposition, and are more than happy, eager in fact, to use money skimmed from workers' paychecks or siphoned away from social programs to pay for proxy quagmire wars in Ukraine, to finance a genocide in Palestine, to prop up a fascist dictatorship in the Philippines. comrade who spoke just before me mentioned this as well. Yesterday was the anniversary of the brutal coup staged by Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration against Comrade Muammar Gaddafi in Libya, which at the time did hold the highest standard of living in Africa. That was in 2011. The same year, federal funding for housing assistance was cut by 13.3% for a figure of $6.2 billion. The budget for the U.S. military was increased by $18.2 billion the same year. How much money wasted on assassination and torture could have been put to good use, making sure people had a place to live?
All of it!
How much suffering does $22 billion pay for, and how many people could it have helped? The barbarism the U.S. exports abroad is reflected in the conditions of people living on the streets here in Portland and in cities all over the U.S. In turn, the cruel conditions of our houseless neighbors we desensitize ourselves to daily normalize the horrors of war. Democrat politicians have made it clear enough through their strike-breaking, warmongering, and penny-pinching whose interests they serve, no matter how much they try to pander to a proletarian image. As workers, we know our struggle is global, and its terms are not set by these crass political careerists, weapons brokers, and glorified slumlords. Our fight continues in our union locals and our councils, on our shop floors, and in the streets. Thank you.
When workers' rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up like that!
That's right. Thanks so much. It's wonderful hearing from labor out here, exposing the lies that Hillary and the Democratic Party try to peddle to convince us that our interests are with them. They're not. So our next speaker is Emily with POPS, or People Organizing for Philippine Solidarity. POPS is a local organization of non-Filipinos united under the belief that the Filipino people have a right to struggle for national and social liberation. POPS is a member organization of the Friends of the Filipino People in Struggle, which unites non-Filipinos across the world in solidarity with the national democratic struggle in the Philippines.
Hello everyone, my name is Emily and I am speaking today on behalf of Friends of the Filipino People in Struggle. We are a global organization of non-Filipinos united in the belief that the Filipino people have a right to struggle against oppressive rule by any means necessary. While Hillary Clinton is inside at the Schnitz today, she will speak about her role in upholding democracy, human rights, and justice. But she and the Democratic Party will do anything to maintain U.S. dominance globally. As Secretary of State, she led the destruction of the anti-imperialist government in Libya. She undercut the sovereignty of Haiti and Palestine, paving the way for the Biden government to back the escalated genocide in Palestine today. She coined the term pivot to Asia, which has led to the unprecedented U.S. military buildup in the Asia Pacific in order to encircle China. In the Philippines, this means developing counter-terrorism operations which target the revolutionary movement in the countryside. In May, an International People's Tribunal was held to try the Philippine government, Marcos, Duterte, and the U.S. government. We heard testimonies from the Filipino people on the indiscriminate bombings, deliberate targeting of citizens, red tagging, forced displacement of entire communities, abductions, forced disappearances, torture, and massacres. These atrocities are crimes under international humanitarian law, and in the context of the armed conflict in the Philippines are considered war crimes. These crimes are carried out by the government of the Republic of the Philippines with the full support of the U.S. government. They support them in policy, in training, in financing, materials which are used indiscriminately against both combatants and civilians. These war crimes are being committed following the path that Hillary Clinton laid out in her pivot to Asia. Last year, the U.S. federal budget for militarism was $1.14 trillion, 62% of the budget. How much of that was for food and agriculture? Barely 1%. How much of that was for health and for education? Barely 10%. The U.S. is giving billions of dollars to maintain their hegemony throughout the world while crushing people's movements, all while deprioritizing the basic needs of the people here in the U.S. But wherever there is oppression, there is resistance. From Palestine to the Philippines, from India to Myanmar, from the Sahel to the Tigray region, people are exercising their right to struggle against oppressive rule and for national and social liberation by any means necessary. As friends of the Filipino people in struggle, we affirm our solidarity with the National Democratic Front of the Philippines and their 12-point program. U.S. imperialism, whether it's Clinton, Blinken, Trump, or Biden, keeps the Philippines under its neo-colonial rule. But the Filipino people, represented by the National Democratic Front, are carrying out a people's war to end the dominance of U.S. imperialism in their country for a Philippines that is truly sovereign and democratic. The Filipino people and people throughout the world have a right to struggle for self-determination. In the Philippines, this means they are engaged in a protracted people's war for national liberation. And throughout the world, people are engaged in struggle to free themselves, their land, and their people, to build a world free from the dominance of imperialism. Down with Clinton and her pivot to Asia. Down with U.S. imperialism. Support the militant struggles of oppressed peoples all over the world. Thank you. Just have a quick chant. So when I say people's war, I want you all to say people's peace. People's war!
People's peace!
People's war!
People's peace!
Thank you.
Our next speaker today is Wyatt from Clown Block. Clown Block is a proud member organization of the Resist U.S.-led war movement. They use clown and theater to nurture revolutionary joy, lasting unity, and radical action amongst the people in resistance of our common enemy, U.S. imperialism.
Hello, my name is Wyatt and I am a member of Clown Block. Our mission is to use clown and theater to resist U.S.-led war in all its forms. One such form is neoliberalism's attack on our social services and quality of life. Who's on food stamps? I know I am. Neoliberalism's goal is to privatize everything, taking the power from us and giving it to corporate oligarchs like Hillary Clinton serves. We may be clowns, but we know who the real clowns are. Clown Block's membership is made up of artists, a sector that heavily depends on public funding and is chronically starved and repressed under neoliberalism. We are kept in constant competition, poverty, and servitude to the elite. Our work is controlled by big funders and we are forced to propagate their values rather than our own. Hillary Clinton's influence has done nothing but continue this trend. As First Lady, she led the Millennium Initiative, saying that we must do everything we can to strengthen our support for the arts and humanities, But all this program did was preserve select artistic and historical pieces that strengthen U.S. supremacy. These pieces include the Star-Spangled Banner at the Smithsonian and the re-encasement of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution at the National Archives. Boo! Under Bill Clinton, the National Endowment for the Arts budget was slashed. In 2016, the arts were nowhere to be found in Hillary's presidential platform. However, she was very vocal about prioritizing war, notably on holding China accountable and supporting Israel. Boo! Through imperial violence, the offensive against artists is happening globally and in ever-escalating forms. In the global north, the attacks range from economic precarity to censorship and surveillance. In the global south, artists face arrests, shutdowns, even disappearances, displacements, and killings. Across the map, we are all experiencing cultural erasure, historical distortion, and disinformation. Even though cultural work is under attack, we stand up and fight back. Alongside revolutionary artists all over the world, we struggle for people-led cultural work, which makes visible the people's struggles erased or distorted by mainstream media and institutions dominated by the ruling classes. We assert that it is our right to create our art on our own terms, not to use it to satisfy systems that oppress us. It is our right to create art that truly reflects our conditions and promotes our interests. And when needed, it is our duty to create art that builds a common language of resistance. When cultural work is under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back! Thank you all.
U.S. imperialist!
#1 terrorist!
U.S. imperialist!
#1 terrorist!
U.S. imperialist!
#1 terrorist!
Thank you, Wyatt. Cal Lounge Block will be doing a performance for us later in the evening, so you have that to look forward to. Our next speaker is Adam from JVP, or Jewish Voice for Peace. Jewish Voice for Peace is part of a national organization building grassroots, multiracial, cross-class, intergenerational movement of U.S. Jews in solidarity with Palestinian freedom struggle. JVP seeks freedom for Palestinians as well as a home for Jews beyond the violence of Zionism. Welcome, Adam.
Hello. Hi, dear friends. We at Jewish Voice for Peace are so proud to join these speakers in condemning U.S. imperial violence and demanding an end to U.S.-supported violence in the Philippines and everywhere else. JVP Portland wishes you a blessed Sukkot, our ancient festival commemorating both harvest and exile, when we gather under symbolic dwellings to celebrate our community and our history. We remember our millennia of wanderings, some of them voluntary pilgrimages, but many of them expulsions forced by the hand of empire. This year we celebrate Sukkot at the time when the state of Israel has permanently displaced the majority of the Palestinian population in Gaza. In the last year, Israel has directly murdered over 40,000 Palestinians, almost more than a third of them children, and its endless war has led to some 200,000 deaths in total. Most of these who survive now live in literal, not symbolic, tents, facing starvation, disease, and ceaseless bombings. Shame. Even now, we're hearing of the unceasing horrors in Jabalia refugee camp, where over 100,000 Palestinians living in 1 square mile are bombed, starved, and trapped with nowhere else to go. We must continue to see it clearly. Israel is committing genocide, and the Biden administration is fueling it. Are you against genocide? Yes! Hillary Clinton would tell you, as she did in May of 2024, that young people who support Palestinian life and liberation, quote, don't know very much at all about the history of the Middle East, or frankly about history in many areas of the world, including our own country. To which we say, we fucking know our history. For example, we know that Joe Biden has declared as far back as 1986, quote, "Were there not an Israel, the United States of America would have to invent an Israel to protect her interests in the region. The United States would have to go out and invent an Israel." Zionism may have originally been a misguided and dangerous response to the real problem of anti-Semitism, but now it is a wholly imperial project funded by U.S. Oh my God. Okay, thank you for having a backup. That's so good. All right, thanks y'all. But now it is a wholly imperial project funded by the U.S. military-industrial complex and 100 million apocalyptic Christians. But that doesn't sound as good as saying Israel exists to keep Jews safe, the lie Biden and Clinton and the majority of our elected officials keep repeating to distract us from the blood on their hands. We at JVP are proud Jews, and we know Jewish safety will never be found in the oppression of others. It will always come from solidarity with others, which is why we are so thrilled to be here tonight with you. Many Jews, including my own family, believe the lie that Israel keeps us safe. But that lie is beginning to falter as Israel commits atrocity after atrocity that even the most entrenched mind cannot justify. The reality of Israeli violence, and by extension the reality of all U.S. imperial violence, is shining through like never before. We aim to shake people free from Zionism and give them a community that truly sees all life as precious, even and especially the lives of those affected by U.S. imperial aggression. Lastly, did you know that the state of Oregon is invested directly in Israel? The public employee retirement system has over $1 million invested in Israel bonds. And if you're Jewish, you may also have Israel bonds in your own name. JVP is working with the coalition partners to divest from Israel. We invite you to join us in this work. Thank you all. From Palestine to the Philippines.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
From Palestine to the Philippines.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Adam. Our next speaker is Cass. Cass sits on the Portland Coordinating Committee for the International League of People's Struggle, a global formation of people's organizations and movements that strives to realize the unity, cooperation, and coordination of anti-imperialist and democratic struggles around the world.
Thank you. As I said, my name is Cassius. I'm a member of the Portland Coordinating Committee of the International League of People's Struggle. We've heard from many speakers today describing how their fights and struggles for their people inevitably led them here to show Hillary Clinton and all appendages of U.S. imperialism that they are not welcome. No matter what sector we come from, be we migrant workers who are forced from our homelands, veterans who found ourselves fighting for the imperialists in wars we never wanted, citizens with family in Palestine, the Philippines, the Congo, who see our families being torn apart in the name of counterterrorism. No matter who or where we are here to say enough. These people, all of us, have the right and the duty to resist. The International Migrants Alliance is resisting. Veterans for Peace is resisting. The people of the Philippines and every group you heard from today, they are fighting back. They are struggling for the survival and the safety of their people. Our so-called leaders have the audacity to label resistance fighters as terrorists while funneling billions of our tax dollars every year to oppress and terrorize them and their communities. ILPS stands with these people and anti-imperialist movements all around the world in our campaign to defend people's struggle. We see through you, Clinton, Biden, Harris, these politicians, these tentacles of imperialism showering us with false solutions in their presidential platforms, and we reject them. We know what is important to us, and we have developed our own platform, the People's Platform, created by the input of ILPS organizations and individual people all across the country to address just solutions to the real concerns of people, like health, housing, migration, national liberation, instead of endless imperialist war and increasingly repressive law enforcement. As ILPS, we take the strongest possible stance against the empty rhetoric of Clinton, Harris, and Walz, the outright fascism of Trump and Vance, and the apathy and hopelessness that they all want us to fall into. Come find me or any other ILPS member to talk about planning for a week of action over the upcoming election to show them that no matter who wins, these concerns will always be important to us, the people, and until they are resolved, we will never stop fighting. Long live
International solidarity!
Long live
International solidarity!
Thank you.
Thank you, Pass.
The people united
Will never be defeated!
The people united
Will never be defeated!
El pueblo unido
Jamás será vencido!
Ang tao, ang bayan.
We are coming to the end of our program of speakers here. So our next event will be closing cultural with the singers from the International Women's Alliance to sing a song called the Mother's Day Song. So I invite our performers to come up to the stage. And as they're getting ready, I want to remind us, we'll have some instructions after this song about our next part of the program, where we will be moving to the front of the Arlene Schnitzer to continue our speakers, continue our agitating program exposing Hillary for her lies, for the violence she inflicts on the rest of the world. So let's listen to the singers from Iwa as they sing the song about the effects of war and militarism on women around the world. And as they're getting ready, we'll do a couple chants. Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies. She doesn't care about women's lives. Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies.
She doesn't care about women's lives!
Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies.
She doesn't care about women's lives!
Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies.
She doesn't care about women's lives!
My children are hungry, they're sick from the heat, while I pick the crops for others to eat. And you take my money, you think I don't see, you use it to fire on women like me. My children are ragged, their bodies are bare, while I sew the clothes for others to wear. And you take my money, you think I don't see, you use it to fire on women like me. I live in a dump, my landlord's no good, while I clean the halls in a rich neighborhood. And you take my money, you think I don't see, I wanted my children to have a good skill, but they go in your army and they learn to kill. And you take my children, you think I don't see. You teach them to fire on women like me. Your rifles and guns won't win any wars unless you've got something that's worth fighting for. We fight for the people. Just you wait and see. They started a fire in women like me. We fight for the people. Just you wait and see. They started a fire in women like me.
So that concludes the program that we had here today before the second part. We're going to invite Adriana back up here to review that plan. I know we've had new folks join us, so please listen up so we can all stay safe in this next part.
Okay, hello everybody again. So just a reminder of what we're doing next. So we will be walking down these stairs, or if you need a ramp, down the ramp, and walking on the sidewalk here on Salmon Street, crossing Broadway, turning right, and then we will just be staying on the sidewalk in front of the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall. We'll have some more speakers and continue our rally there, but just a reminder for folks that may have just gotten here since the start of the program that really we are confronting Hillary Clinton. We're not confronting all of the attendees of her book tour, right? Those are people that we actually want to unite with. So we're even gonna have some folks flyering to tell them like we know you're going in there, but this is why we're here and like what we think about Clinton. So, you know, let's not like get angry with the attendees. Let's be respectful and stay safe, stay on the sidewalk. So with that, reminder that we also have a police liaison. Please do not talk to any police. You can tell them that we have a police liaison. Get anybody in a orange or yellow vest to help you get them if you need. Yes, those are the main items. When our rally is over, feel free to disperse back to your cars and get home safely. So with that, we will be following our lead marshal over here raising his hand. We'll be going down the stairs here and staying on the sidewalk in this direction. So yeah, that is our plan. Please stay safe.
Thank you, Adriana. So as we start to move toward Boulevard, we Marshall, Matthew, let's get our energy going. So we're going in front of the Schnitz so that we can directly confront this war criminal who's in our city. So we're going to get, are you ready to do this? Are you ready to show Hillary Clinton what we think about her? U.S. out of the Philippines! U.S. out of Palestine! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of Africa! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of everywhere! From Palestine to the Philippines! Stop the U.S. war machine! From Palestine to the Philippines! Stop the U.S. war machine! From Palestine to the Philippines! Stop the U.S. war machine! Not another nickel! Not another dime! No more money for a U.S. war crime! Not another nickel! Not another dime! No more money for a U.S. war crime! Not another nickel! No more money for a U.S. war crime! No more money for a U.S. war crime! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of everywhere!
Israel can go to hell! People power! People power! Tell me what you want, what you really want! Justice! Tell me what you need, what you really need! Justice! People power! People power! Justice! Tell me what you need, what you really need! Justice! People power! People power! Justice! Justice! People power! People power! Justice! People power! People power! She don't care about people's lives! She don't care about people's lives! Let's sing a little bit. Back up, we want freedom, freedom! People's lives! U.S. People power!
She is not welcome in our city, is that right? Hillary has spent the last month touring the U.S. And although Hillary may not show her face to us, we are here to stand in solidarity with the people around the world struggling against U.S. imperialism. We are here to expose her crimes and express the people's outrage. We will not allow Hillary to set foot in our city without a confrontation, is that right? Hillary spewing lies. She don't care about people's lives. Hillary spewing lies. She don't care about people's lives. We are here to expose Hillary's lies and to uplift the demands of the people that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party failed to uphold and uplift. And we invite all of those who are here to listen to Hillary to listen to our program and to learn about her crimes around the world.
We all know that Hillary is a liar! U.S. policy doesn't exist in a vacuum! And Hillary's anti-woman, anti-people policies ultimately cause millions of people around the world to suffer economic hardship, violence, and forced migration! How dare Hillary
several speakers to expose her war crimes around the world, and in particular in the Philippines. I want to invite Christian May, a member of Gabriela Portland, a militant and fighting organization for Filipino women, to speak. Gabriela Portland is both a part of Lion Oregon and the International Women's Alliance.
Welcome, greetings, my comrades. My name is Christian May, and I'm with Gabriela Portland. We're a militant Filipino women's organization fighting for women's rights against gender-based violence and for a liberated Philippines free from the influence of the United States, and for Philippines that belongs to the Filipino people, not the foreign land grabbers and the few elites. We are here today to expose Hillary Clinton as a cog of the U.S. war machine. She's a butthole parading herself as a champion of women's rights and gender equality. This is a slap in the face to the working women of everywhere. During her time as Secretary of State, Hillary pushed forward war and militarization around the world. Clinton was directly involved in the escalation of militarization in the Philippines through her coined Pivot to Asia strategy. Shortly after that, the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement was signed and the Visiting Forces Agreement was reinforced, further making the Philippines a de facto base for the U.S. Women and children are still drowning in the consequences of our violent interventionist policies. Who is the real champion of women? Is it Hillary? This billionaire? This warmonger? No! It is us, as Filipino women, as migrants, as workers. We are the ones leading the fight for our own liberation. From exploitation in our workplaces, to abuse in our homes and communities, to state-sanctioned sexual violence as a tool of war. Violence against women continues to be normalized, accepted, and tolerated. But we will not be silent. That's right. Gabriela is fighting to end the violence against women. Who do we do it for? We fight for Melissa Jubain, a Filipino nurse who was slaughtered in Beaverton this September. We fight for Jennifer Lade, a trans woman in Olongapo, Philippines, who was killed by a U.S. Marine in 2016. Her murderer was pardoned by the U.S. Duterte regime. We fight for Siri Matias, a peasant women's organizer who was forcibly disappeared in September at the hands of the U.S. Marcos regime. We fight for the women red fighters who have taken up arms revolution in the countryside, who have been murdered by the fascist state. We are fighting for all oppressed Filipino women. All victims of gender-based violence. This means fighting to end this violent imperialist system we live in. This means exposing warmongers like Hillary, like Merkley, like Marcos. This means fighting to end this violent imperialist system we live in. This means exposing warmongers like, I already went that, sorry. I'm gonna keep going though. We will continue to struggle for national sovereignty and genuine democracy. We will continue to build a pro-people and true revolutionary culture which upholds the right of women. Filipino women are not for sale. And we're gonna say that after me, okay? Filipino women are not for sale! Filipino women are not for sale! Justice for Melissa Jubain! Justice for Melissa Jubain! Justice for Jennifer Lade! Justice for Jennifer Lade! USA of the Philippines! USA of the Philippines! Lastly, please join us in mobilizing outside of Washington County Courthouse on November 18th at 1:30 to demand justice for Melissa Jubain. Can my comrades and Gabriela please raise their hands in a fist? Ask any of us, raising our arms right now, if you want to get involved in our campaign, and salamat for listening. Hillary spewing lies!
She doesn't care about women's lives!
Hillary spewing lies!
She doesn't care about women's lives!
Hillary spewing lies!
She doesn't care about money for U.S. war crimes!
Not another nickel, not another dime!
No more money for U.S. war crimes! Our next speaker is Copeland, who is the current chair of the Portland Committee for Human Rights in the Philippines and co-coordinator for iChirp Portland. The International Coalition for Human Rights in the Philippines is a global network of organizations concerned about the human rights situation in the Philippines and committed to campaign for just and lasting peace in the Philippines. Thank you. I am so glad the clowns are out today. Because when the clowns make more sense than these politicians, you know something is wrong. We have heard today about the number of ways that Hillary Clinton has destroyed people's lives and been the agent of violence, death, and destruction for millions around the world. She's here today to represent the Democratic Party, to raise money for the Democrats, to campaign for Kamala Harris. And now many people see the Democratic Party as the less evil than the Republican Party. History has shown that both parties will continue the same militarization and counterinsurgency policies that infringe upon basic human rights and keep people poor, from the people of streets to the rubble in Gaza. Hillary Clinton is here to promote her new book, as we talked about today. Something lost, something gained. But let's be clear. Her tenure as Secretary of State wasn't a loss. It was a vicious attack on the people of the world.
That's right.
Take, for example, her 2011 visit to the Philippines. She reaffirmed the Mutual Defense Treaty. This treaty wasn't about defense. It was designed to sustain U.S. military dominance. It also ramps up the offensive counterinsurgency efforts and crushes the people's movements for justice.
That's right.
I don't know if you knew this, but Clinton is also not just a memoir author. She was a key writer for the U.S. playbook for human rights violations, one that the U.S. Marcos regime follows to the letter today. While the Philippines government makes hit lists of activists, the U.S. government picks up right where they leave off, allowing political oppression against U.S. civilians. On October 6th, I traveled to the Philippines as an observer to the most prominent human rights organization, Karapatan's National Congress. At the airport in Manila, I was pulled out of the immigration line and told that the U.S. had filed an exclusion order against me in 2022 and denied entry. This was likely retaliation for my participation in the 2022 Elections Observers Mission that exposed the illegitimate election of the current President Marcos Jr. And learning about this blacklisting comes only a few months before the Philippines' 2025 midterm elections, where the Marcos regime will likely enact the same violence, intimidation, and vote buying that we witnessed in 2022. But the blacklisting is not just against me. It's the same observers mission. An activist from Chicago was publicly identified and called a terrorist sympathizer. Another had his passport photo posted on a banner outside his hotel. Many here may know Brandon Lee, a human rights defender and U.S. citizen who was living in the Philippines for years. He was a victim of an assassination attempt and is now paralyzed. If blacklisting, defamation, and attempted assassination of American human rights activists are not enough for this U.S. under both Democrats and Republicans to end its support of these oppressive and fascist systems, then what is? And we've tried to play that game. For 4 years, iChirp US has been fighting to pass the Philippine Human Rights Act. This legislation would cut off U.S. military funding to the Philippines until real accountability is in place. Locally, we've been urging Senator Jeff Merkley to introduce a Senate companion bill and back up his words about democracy with real action. But for all these years, Merkley has refused, calling it complicated and saying it wouldn't go anywhere in Senate. This is how the U.S. government views human rights and war crimes: inconvenient, politically irrelevant, and secondary to its geopolitical and economic interests. Senator Merkley, if you can hear me tonight, we are calling on you to take action.
That's right.
Stand with your constituents who are being targeted by the Marcos regime's fascist attacks and advocate for their removal from the blacklist and end U.S. support for the Marcos regime. Everyone repeat after me. End U.S. support of the Marcos regime.
End U.S. support of the Marcos regime.
Tonight, Clinton will be talking about our threats to democracy. But Clinton, Harris, Obama, Trump, Biden, they are all threats to democracy around the world. When they talk about protecting our interests or building ironclad relationships with foreign countries like the Philippines and Israel, we must see through these platitudes and see these people for what they are. Warmongers! Even if Kamala will be elected, we know that she's the same war hawk as her predecessors. Just last year, she visited the Philippines to reaffirm the U.S. commitment to defense and strengthen our economic relationships. This defense alliance will continue the military buildup in the Asia-Pacific and in the Philippines. The Democrats talk about human rights, democratic values, and peace, but the economic policies and militarization are in direct contrast to this. So then what do we do? Friends, the solution is in our hands. Organizing and building the anti-imperialist movement, strengthening solidarity across borders. This current political system will not liberate the oppressed peoples from the world. It will not lift the poor and marginalized in the U.S. out of our suffering. That change comes from us. It is the vast majority of working people, peasants, seafarers, garment workers, teachers, healthcare workers, migrants, and even the unemployed who have the power to change the course of history. Our strength lies in unity. So let's commit to organizing, to resisting imperialism in all its forms, and to stand with the oppressed from the streets of Portland to everywhere around the world. U.S. out of the Philippines! U.S. out of Philippines! U.S. out of everywhere!
U.S. out of everywhere!
Thank you.
U.S. out of the Philippines! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of the Philippines!
U.S. out of everywhere!
U.S. out of the Philippines!
U.S. out of everywhere!
Our next speaker is Katie, a member of the Global Secretariat of the International Women's Alliance. EWA is a global alliance of grassroots women's organization who are opposed to war, exploitation, and occupation, and who know that women's liberation can only come through national and social liberation of all people. Good evening, comrades! And good evening, Portland, to all of you who are going to go hear Hillary Clinton tonight. My name is Katie from the International Women's Alliance. We represent thousands of women from grassroots movements around the world. Women who have been directly impacted by Hillary's policies and the constant advancement of U.S.-led war and corporate plunder of the world. Hillary's book emphasizes what has been lost and gained entertainment politics, but we know the real loss has been millions of lives lost to war, violence, and economic exploitation, especially impacting women. Many people tonight walking into that building see Hillary as a hero, see her and Kamala as women leaders who inspire hope and are evidence of progress. But we cannot, I say, we cannot measure progress based on the politicians we elect, but instead on the fights we are able to win and the victories that we are able to win together. Women around the world know whose side Hillary is on. When the military bases were built, when the bombs were dropped, when it seemed so hopeful. And how many of us since then have realized that the fight is bigger than the ballot box? It is bigger. That's right. It is bigger than one corporate sellout. It is bigger than a two-party system that refuses to meet our needs, refuses to stop funding a genocide, and refuses to stop expanding military presence and escalating war all over the world. How many of us have realized that the true heroes are not the Hillarys and the Kamalas of the world, but the true heroes are the working women who make impossible choices every day to fight and build towards a better world? We know these women. They are our mothers, our ates, our titas, our teachers, our abuelas, our caregivers, and our daughters. The women who have to choose between rent, food, and medical care despite working multiple jobs. The women who sacrifice being with their families in order to provide for them, who leave home not knowing when they'll return, hoping that the money they send home will provide a future for their children and their community. Our heroes are the women. The women who face political violence for standing against corporate greed, who fight for the right to unionize, for the right for a fair and safe workplace. Our heroes are the women who organize, who struggle for national sovereignty, and raise their children to dream of a world free of exploitation and war. And above all, our heroes are the women who take up arms and dare to struggle against this very enemy. Who know and believe that women's true liberation can only come from overthrowing colonialism, imperialism, and corruption, and by fighting for national liberation. These are the women whose books we want to read. These are the women who know what it means to struggle, to lose, to sacrifice, to fight, and to dare to win, so that women and all working people all over the world might have a better life and a better world. On behalf of Brian, ICHIP, and the International Women's Alliance, and all of our members in Portland and around the world, we know this fight is far from over. We invite everyone here to join us, because together, united in action against U.S. imperialism, militarism, and exploitation, we truly can and will change the world. We don't need to be with her, but we do need to be with each other. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. U.S. out of the Philippines. U.S. out of everywhere. U.S. out of Palestine. U.S. out of everywhere. We are going to take the streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. And as we occupy this intersection, we're going to invite Clown Bar to perform for us to expose the U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of the Philippines! U.S. out of everywhere! Not another nickel, not another dime! No more money for U.S. crimes! Not another nickel, not another dime! No more money for U.S. crimes! Not another nickel, not another dime! No more money for U.S. crimes! Is our Clam Block performers up here? Alright, we're inviting our Clam Block performers to come up here. From Palestine!
Palestine to the Philippines.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
From Palestine to the Philippines.
Stop the U.S. war machine.
The people united
Will never be defeated.
The people united
Will never be defeated.
The people united
Will never be defeated.
Just letting you know, I'm outside.
Thank you. So for our final performance, Clownbach is now going to perform a skit for us to truly expose the heinous crimes of Hillary Clinton.
All right, hold this for me.
By my mouth.
Thank you.
Those people should go
Closer to
home.
my mouth.
I agree.
Follow up here.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's me, Hillary Clinton. I am a proud Democrat and a champion of women. You're welcome, women. I know, you're all very angry and confused. And I'm here to set the record straight once and for all. From my time as First Lady in the 90s, to my time as Secretary of State under Obama, to my multiple, very well-attended book tours in more recent years, all I have done is fight for American freedom.
Yeah, right.
As I was saying, an example of this is my staunch, ongoing support of Israel, our most precious ally in the Middle East. Even back in 2006, I was saying, I do not think we should have pushed for an election in the Palestinian territories. I think that was a big mistake. And if we were going to push for an election, then we should have been sure that we did something to determine who was going to win. Am I right? Hillary, spewing lies. You don't care about Palestinian lies. Did you just hear that, y'all? That was freaking crazy. You have never supported the self-determination of the Palestinian people. You said so yourself just now. You claimed the U.S. should have rigged the elections in Gaza in 2006. Does that sound very democratic to anyone here? No! You failed to stand up to Israel's countless violations of international law as they expanded illegal settlements and enforced a deadly blockade on Gaza. Shame! In fact, as Israel intensifies its all-out genocidal war against Gaza, you argued against a ceasefire and had the nerve to tell pro-Palestinian students, activists, that they don't know very much at all about the history of the Middle East. But you know what? You don't need a diploma or have graduated anything to know that genocide is wrong. It sounds like you don't know your own history, because wherever there is oppression, there will be resistance. And the courageous struggle of the Palestinian people is just. You have never supported the rights of Palestinian people. Instead, you peddle Israel's baseless accusations of sexual violence committed by Hamas. Where is your shame?
It's called feminism.
3, 2, 1, let's do it again. Shame! Where is your outrage at the daily sexual violence experienced by Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails? Where is your concern for women of Gaza who have no clean drinking water, no access to health care, no food to feed their children? You are a hypocrite who only cares to defend U.S. imperialism and its proxies. Get a load of that. All right. Let me speak. Really funny. If I'm so such an imperialist, then why do I always put my full support behind America stepping in and saving the suffering people of the world from the warlords and dictators that oppress them? I don't know if you knew this, but I was actually involved in liberating the Libyan people from their dictator Gaddafi. Like I said back then, we came, we saw, he died.
Hillary spewing lies. You don't care about Libyan lives. You devastated the democratic country of Libya, bombing civilians and throwing the country into chaos. Under Gaddafi, Libya was one of the most prosperous countries in Africa, using its wealth to ensure free education and health care for its people. But you could not stand for an African leader who put his people before the interests of U.S. imperialism. You trampled on Libyan sovereignty and used your influence to force regime change in order to keep Africa weak and dependent on U.S. interests. Thanks to you, the Libyan economy is in ruins and its infrastructure is destroyed. 1 million Libyans are displaced and migrants are being sold as slaves on the streets of Tripoli. Does that sound like protecting civilians? No! Does that sound like restoring democracy? No! After Gaddafi was captured alive and brutally murdered, you showed your true colors and laughed at his fate. You are nothing but a war criminal.
Out this damn spot, right? Listen. Would a war criminal spend their entire life fighting for women? Heard of them? I have always believed that it is a woman's right to have an equal place in the sweatshops, the factories, the offices, and the CEO positions that make capitalism great. As I said in the 2011 APEC summit, several businesses are already taking significant steps to meet such goals. Goldman Sachs is training the next generation of women business leaders in developing economies with its 10,000 Women campaign. Coca-Cola's 5x20 campaign aims to support no less than 5 million women entrepreneurs worldwide by 2020, and just this week, Walmart announced that it will use its purchasing power to support women entrepreneurs by doubling the amount of goods it will buy from women-owned businesses globally to $20 billion by 2016. Because listen, folks, when we increase women's participation in the economy and enhance their efficiency and productivity, we can bring about a dramatic impact on the competitiveness and growth of our economies. I think we can all agree. Hillary spewing lies. You don't care about workers' lives.
The only equality you seek for the women of Haiti is the equal opportunity to be exploited for capital gain. You and your husband have profited off of the suffering of the Haitian people. Because of you, Haiti remains to be the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. In 2009, you thwarted attempts to raise the minimum wage from 24 to 61 cents per hour, all to protect the profits of apparel giants like Walmart and Hanes. Yet again, spitting in the face of democracy, you repeatedly propped up a puppet government and supported fraudulent elections. Your husband's policies destroyed the livelihood of rice farmers in Haiti, leading to famine after the 2010 earthquake. You funneled billions of relief aid into private contractors that profited off of the disaster. In one case, you sent trailers contaminated with formaldehyde. What kind of aid is that? Haiti continues to be occupied by UN forces at the direction of US, including hundreds of Kenyan police officers. Are foreign troops what the Haitian people need to rebuild their country? How dare you treat Haiti as a colony of the US?
I can't win. I can't win with these people. Hey, that's my bad. That's that's my money. That's my money.
Hillary spewing lies. You don't care about women's lives. You promote yourself as a champion of women's rights, but your first legal case was defending a child rapist in which you called the 12-year-old victim emotionally unstable. You've defended Bill despite multiple instances of sexual harassment and sexual assault. You take millions from Wall Street while the American people are left houseless, in debt, and lacking social services. Women's rights are workers' rights, but instead of guaranteeing good-paying jobs, you promote free trade agreements that benefit massive corporations. Hillary Clinton, you criminalize black and brown communities suffering from economic crisis that you have caused. Under you and your husband, our communities have been torn apart by policing, and our jobs have been sent overseas. Millionaire politicians like yourself and Kamala have gained political power and economic success by selling out the working class and turning their back on the majority of America.
All right, thank you. Thank you. That's enough, I think, from you, actually. That's also my bag, and I didn't actually give you... That's mine, thank you. No one was supposed to see that. I didn't consent to that search, but that's fine. I'll go on. First of all, how dare you? I have done everything I can to protect the working class from our #1 enemy. Say it with me, China! I have been invaluable in America's pivot to Asia military strategy. We have been successful in occupying the Pacific so that we remain in control. That was for you. Who are you going to thank when you get to sleep cozy at night, not worrying about China coming and stealing your jobs, huh?
Hillary spewing lies. You don't kill about Filipino lives. You claim to blur the line between defense and diplomacy. You should have blurred the line between defense and diplomacy with the Philippines. You groomed the Philippines to be a doormat for U.S. imperialism, making sure the U.S. military can post up anywhere they want on Philippine army bases, flooding the country with U.S. troops and foreign investments to plunder the land and resources. After the people of the U.S. demanded an end to wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, you declared the pivot to Asia, threatening that this was going to be America's Pacific century. With a substantially increased investment in the region. In focusing U.S. military might against China, you see the Philippines as your first line of defense, putting the lives and livelihoods of the entire Filipino people in the crossfire. You ensure that the U.S. can disregard Philippine sovereignty and its troops can get away with rape and murder, like in the case of Joseph Scott Pemberton, who brutally murdered Jennifer Lowry in 2014. Your increased investment has meant land grabbing and environmental destruction and the impoverishment and forced migration of millions of Filipinos. Do you think they feel invested in? No! Do you think they've gained anything? No! How dare you use the Philippines as a military base for U.S. aggression against China? The Filipino people will not allow you to trample on their democratic rights to land and self-determination. That is why they have protested every time you dared set foot in their country. And they will not stop until you and every other agent of U.S. imperialism is driven out of the Philippines. U.S. out of the Philippines! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of Libya! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of Palestine! U.S. out of everywhere! U.S. out of Africa! U.S. out of everywhere! The people united will never be defeated! The people united will never be defeated! El pueblo unido jamás será vencido! El pueblo unido jamás será vencido!
about people's lives.
Hillary spewing lies.
She don't care about people's lives.
We're gonna do this one more time. My name is Katie from the International Women's Alliance, a global alliance of grassroots women's organizations that represents thousands of women from grassroots movements around the world. Women who have been directly impacted by Hillary's policies and the constant advancement of U.S.-led war and corporate plunder. Many people attending the book tour today see Hillary as a hero, see her and Kamala as women leaders who inspire hope and are evidence of progress. But we cannot measure progress
ha vencido.
U.S. out of everywhere.
U.S. out of everywhere.
U.S. out of the Philippines.
U.S. out of everywhere.
U.S. out of Palestine.
U.S. out of everywhere.
U.S. out of Africa.
U.S. out of everywhere.
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 Thank you.
No boots on the ground, no bombs in the air.
U.S. out of everywhere. All right, as we close our program today, we want to thank every one of you for being out here to expose Hillary and her crimes.
As we've heard from all the speakers today, Hillary's build-up to war and her empty rhetoric on women's rights has never solved the root problems of landlessness, joblessness, and that leads to the forced migration of the most exploited masses across the world. It will never be women like Hillary or Kamala who champion migrant and working women's rights. From the Philippines to Palestine, it is the people's resistance. Those who are taking up arms against the U.S. war machine, against all wars of aggression. They are the ones who are advancing the fight for national sovereignty and genuine liberation of our people and the people here in the United States. We must, in our everyday fight here in Portland, draw inspiration from the armed revolutionaries.
Thank you for being here to let Hillary Clinton know that she is not welcome here. But the fight does not end here. We echo the International League of People's Struggles and invite all of us to the October 30th unification call to mobilize against the U.S. election, no matter who wins. Because no matter who wins the election, it is us, the people, who have the power. So as we disperse, we will head back across the street and disperse back to our cars. But as we do so, let's close with some chants. Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies.
She doesn't care about people's lives.
Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies.
She doesn't care about people's lives.
Hillary, Hillary, spewing lies.
She doesn't care about people's lives.
U.S. out of the Philippines.
U.S. out of everywhere.
U.S. out of Africa.
U.S. out of everywhere.
U.S. out of Palestine.
U.S. out of everywhere.
The people united.
We'll never be defeated.
The people united.
We'll never be defeated.
One last hurrah. Woo! Thank you again. Let's move back across to the other side of the street.
Shame on Hillary.
Shame on Biden.
Shame on Biden.
Shame on Kamala.
Shame on Kamala.
Shame on Biden.
Shame on Biden.
Shame on Hillary.
Shame on Hillary.
Shame on the U.S.
Shame on the U.S.
Shame on Israel.
Shame on Israel.
All right, y'all, that's the end of it. I'm going to cut it here. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Share this out. Peace.